Oh, yay. Oh, yay. Silence is commanded for the Honorable Lisa Hughes Abrams, Lisa T. Hughes. Right.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I hesitated a little bit because Kelly Stevens, our clerk, gave an abbreviated opening of the court. I'm happy to have everyone this morning. Obviously, it's by Zoom instead of in person. Typically in October, when we do this in the courtroom at the Capitol, it is one justice who swears you in. But during COVID times, we've been doing full court swearing in. So the opening of court is a little different this morning. Welcome to you and to those who are observing this morning. It's a happy day. Completing law school is never an easy task, and certainly passing the bar examination is never easy. However, for your particular class, it's been particularly daunting because of the pandemic and having to participate in classes remotely and even taking the bar exam remotely. So congratulations to all of you on being here this morning. And I think you're familiar with how this is going to proceed. But at this time, I'll turn it back to the clerk and ask her at this time to recognize those who have special motions. And let me say one thing about this. Many of you are the first lawyer in your family. I was the first lawyer in my family. But sometimes we have someone who is married to a lawyer, their parents are a lawyer, aunt or uncle, a grandparent. And so we do give them the courtesy of allowing their family member who's a member of the bar to introduce them. And it's called a special motion. I just want to assure you, all of you are special, even those of us who are the first attorney in our family, and you will all be recognized individually, and we'll see your picture, I think, and information across the screen. But at this time, if you will, Madam Clerk, let me know what special motions do we have?
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay, Justice Hughes?
I can.
All right. Can you see the new lawyer swearing in ceremony?
Yes, I can.
Very good. All right. So our first motion this morning, Justice Hughes, is from Hind Sheath.
All right, Mr. Sheath, I'll entertain your motion. Or Ms. Sheath.
Yes. Can you see me? I've turned on my video.
I absolutely can.
Okay, great. I'm Hind Sheth, and here's my motion. Good morning. I, Hind Sheth, move the admission of my amazing formal clinical student and friend, Emily Alicia Marie Allen, to be licensed and admitted to the practice of law in all courts of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. She has complied with all the requirements to be so admitted.
Thank you. Your motion will be granted.
Thank you.
Next, Justice Hughes, we have a motion from Matthew Bearden.
Mr. Bearden.
Good morning. I,
morning.
Matthew Bearden, move the admission of my son, Nathan Robert Bearden, to be licensed and admitted to the practice of law in all courts of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. He has complied with all the requirements to be so admitted.
Your motion will be granted. All right, next.
We have a motion from Catherine Hogg.
All right, Ms. Hogg.
Good morning. I, Catherine Jean Shannon Hogg, move the admission of my mentee and friend, Anna Patricia Cervera, to be licensed and admitted to the practice of law in all courts of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. She has complied with all the requirements to be so admitted.
Your motion will be granted. Next.
Next, we have a motion from Paul Conway.
Mr. Conway.
Good morning. I, Paul Conway, move the admission of my son, John William Conway, to be licensed and admitted to the practice of law in all courts of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. He has complied with all the requirements to be so admitted.
Your motion will be granted.
Thank you.
Next.
Next, Justice Hughes, we have a motion from the Honorable Jerry Bowles.
All right. Can you hear me, Judge Abrams or Judge Hughes?
Hughes, yes.
Yes. Good morning. May I
Seems to
please
be an issue this morning. Okay.
It threw me off from the early introduction. Justice Hughes, I, Judge Jerry Bowles, move the admission of my mentee and good friend Zachary William Doninger to be licensed and admitted to the practice of law in all courts of the Commonwealth. He has complied with all the requirements to be so admitted.
Judge Bowles, your motion will be granted.
Thank you.
All right, next on the list.
Next is Wesley Shines.
Okay. Mr. Shines.
Good morning, Your Honor. I, Wesley Shines, move the admission of my best friend, Brian Hudson, to be licensed and admitted to the practice of law in all the courts of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. He has completed all the requirements to be so admitted.
Your motion will be granted. The next motion.
Miles Musseter.
Thank you, Justice Hughes. Good morning. I, Miles David Musseter, move the admission of my competent new associate and close friend, Mr. Peyton Palmer Clapp, to be licensed and admitted to the practice of law in all courts of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. He has complied with all the requirements to be submitted. Excuse me, Justice.
Excuse me, I got ahead of myself. Your motion will be granted.
Thank you.
Next motion is J. Brandon Johnson.
Good morning, Justice Hughes. I, James Brandon Johnson, move the admission of my friend and colleague, Sydney Alexis Lane, to be licensed and admitted to the practice of law in all courts of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. She has complied with all the requirements to be so admitted.
Your motion will be granted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next.
Our next motion is from Katie and Ed Monarch.
Justice Hughes, good morning.
Good morning.
We, Ed and Katie Monarch, jointly move the admission of our son, Thomas Houston Monarch, to be licensed and admitted to the practice of law in all courts of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. He has complied with all requirements to be so admitted.
Your motion will be granted, and I cannot miss the opportunity to say that I had the honor of practicing in front of your grandfather, Thomas, many years ago when he was a circuit judge here in Kentucky. Next motion, please.
William M. Nixon. Mr. Nixon, will you please turn on your camera?
Yes, thank you.
There we go.
I am William M. Nixon, and I move the admission of my son, William Evan Nixon, to be licensed and admitted to the practice of law in all the courts of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. He's completed all the requirements, and I so move.
Your motion will be granted, Mr. Nixon.
Thank you.
And next motion.
Jeffrey Roberts.
I, Jeffrey Roberts, move the admission of my daughter, Teresa Roberts, to be licensed and admitted to the practice of law in the Commonwealth, in all courts of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. She has complied with all of the requirements to be so admitted.
Motion will be, Mr. Roberts. All right, next.
Gregory M. Rager. Mr. Rager.
Hughes, and good morning. I, Greg Rieger, move the admission of my colleague, friend, and former law clerk to be licensed, Brian Kenneth Sharp, to be licensed and admitted to the practice of law in all courts of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. He has complied with all the requirements to be so admitted.
Your motion will be granted. All right, and I think next one, please.
Sadiqa Reynolds.
Good morning, Justice Hughes. It's a pleasure to stand before you. I, Sadiqa Reynolds, move the admission of my colleague, Michael Dalton Shelton, to be licensed and admitted to the practice of law in all courts of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. He has complied with all the requirements to be so admitted.
Your motion will be granted. Good to see you too, Ms. Reynolds. Next.
Joseph M. Mills.
I, Joseph Mills, move the admission of my wife, Kaylin Grace Walls, to be licensed and admitted to the practice of law in all courts of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. She has with all the requirements to be submitted.
I'll grant your motion and happy household, Mr. Mills, to both of you. That's great.
Thank you.
And I think we have one more.
Yes, our final motion is from Ernest Williams.
Good morning, Justice Hughes.
Good morning.
I, Ernest Williams, move the admission of my son, Patrick McClure Williams, to be licensed and admitted to the practice of law in all courts of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. He has complied with all the requirements to be so admitted.
Good to see you this morning, Mr. Williams, and your motion will be granted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Justice Hughes, at this time, I think we're ready for Ms. Cubbage.
All right. At this point, the other admittees will be introduced to me and to everyone on the Zoom this morning by Amy Cubbage. Amy is a Louisville lawyer, and she is president-elect of the Kentucky Bar Association. And as you all know, by being admitted to the bar this morning, you are becoming members of the Kentucky Bar Association, or the KBA, as we all know it. So, Ms. Cubbage, at this time, I will hear from you.
May it please the court, Justice Hughes, and honored guests. I am Amy Cubbage. I am serving as president-elect of the Kentucky Bar Association, and I too am a first-generation lawyer in my family. It is my duty and honor to move the court that the individuals who appear before you here today be admitted to the office of attorney and counselor at law and be allowed to appear as such before all courts in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. In support of this motion, I represent that all individuals have successfully completed their academic training. They have been found to be of good moral character by the Character and Fitness Committee, and they have successfully completed examination by the Kentucky Board of Bar Examiners. These individuals are well qualified to assume their office as attorney at law and become members of the Kentucky Bar Association and officers of the Supreme Court of Kentucky.
Ms. Cubbage, your motion will be granted for the following individuals.
Ashley Brooke Baxter. David Scott Borum. Eli Carlson Braun. Madeline Siebert Kane. Daniel Anthony Campano. Bridget Gabrielle Cantrell. Zachary Thomas Courtney. Kara Nicole Crecelius. Mary Claire Dallas. Allison Paige Dempsey. Morgan McKinney Denours. Blake Dylan Donovan. Amanda Marie Edlin. Paige Elizabeth Ezel. Paul Mitchell Fada Jr. Daniel John Grabowski. Aaron Duncan Griffith. Cammie E. Griffith. Kelsey Denise Hall. Gregory Austin Healy. Alexander Barrett Hyman. Kristen Ann Johnson. Haley Mendez Kessner. Callie Ann Kidwell. Robert Miles Lee III. C.U. Lee. Emily Hebe Lineweaver. Melissa Catherine Lonergan. Alexander David Mann. Seth Mattingly. Catherine Renee McCloskey. Erica Eileen McCullough. Kelly Margaret Muir. Connor Minogue. Monica Adriana Molestina. Natalie Marie Nasser. Julie Michelle Paler. I'm sorry, Paler, excuse me. Sarah Morgan Pennington Richards. Graham Rutz Palat. William Davis Razor. Cameron Lee Rhodes. Natalie B. Richter. Ashley K. Russell. April Michelle Jarnigan Sang. Leah Terrio Scharf. Samantha L. Smith. Thomas Victor Stafari. Kirby Taylor Standifer. Dalton Stanley. Julia Ellen Stevens. Ryan Gregory Stevens. Bert Anthony Stinson. Seth Christian Wiseman.
All right, I think that concludes the list. And as I indicated, Ms. Cubbage, I will grant your motion. And I think as it says on the screen at this time, if you all will please turn on your audio.
All right, I think that concludes the list.
Right. Madam Clerk, are we ready to proceed?
Yes, Justice Hughes. Would you like me to administer the oath or are you going to?
I plan to administer it this morning. Thank
Yes,
you.
please.
All right, if you will all raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth? You will be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky so long as you continue a citizen hereof, and that you will faithfully execute to the best of your ability the office of attorney at law? And do you further solemnly swear that since the adoption of the present Constitution, you being a citizen of the state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state nor out of it, sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have you acted as a second in carrying a challenge, nor aided nor assisted anyone thus offending, so help you God?
I do.
All right, congratulations. Were we actually physically in the courtroom? This is the time to ask you to turn around and face your audience and all those who had come to watch you be sworn in that morning. And we would all give you a round of applause. It's a little different on Zoom, but as I said earlier, your law school experience and bar exam experience have been a little different anyway. But I do want to again congratulate all of you and just offer some brief remarks, very brief remarks. I'm in my 15th year on the court, and I think although my remarks through the years have varied somewhat, there are three principal things that I want to leave with you this morning. The first one's really simple. It's the golden rule. You're being admitted to an honorable profession, and with that admission go a lot of responsibilities. And I think as you move through the practice of law and through your personal life, as it reflects on you as a lawyer, the best advice you can have is the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I think the gist of that is to be kind and considerate. And I think sometimes as a young lawyer, you're very conscious of that as it relates to your client or maybe the people you're working with and immediately around you. But it extends much beyond that. It extends to your opposing counsel, to the judge and his or her staff, basically the clerks, everyone you come in contact with. You should always conduct yourself in a way that reflects favorably on you as a person and all of us as members of this profession. So be kind. And I always say it's not only the right thing to do, but one of the things you'll learn as you move through the many years of your law practice is it's also a good thing to do from the standpoint of your professional reputation and development, because you are always in your conduct developing a reputation, and you want that to be one of honor and integrity and complete professionalism. So number one is the golden rule. Number two is give back. I know that some of you already have employment plans. It may be in the public sector, it may be in the private sector, but because you have a law degree and you are admitted to the bar, you have special skills and you are in a position to give back to your community. And there are a number of ways you can do that. It may be through a nonprofit and a religious house of worship. It may be something like agreeing to be the lawyer for your child's preschool board. You may volunteer in an organization that's a national charity, or you might volunteer at home. You can also, in addition to volunteering as a lawyer for an organization or a cause, obviously do pro bono work. And the Legal Aid Society in Louisville and the other 3 legal aid organizations across the state are always understaffed. And serving as a pro bono attorney, that's something I did as a young lawyer at a large law firm. And I can tell you it's not only a service to those who you represent, but it really is a good thing for yourself. It makes you feel good to be able to help people who cannot afford to hire an attorney. So think about the fact that you have these special skills and you do have the opportunity to give back. And third, and very important, is gratitude. Although you all worked hard and you're the ones who took the courses and graduated law school and passed the bar exam, each of you knows that you did not get there alone. There are family, friends, teachers, people who assisted you along the way. They may go all the way back to childhood, people who encouraged you. And so whether that's parents, a spouse, a really good friend, grandparents, aunt and uncle, the neighbor down the street, for me, my fourth grade teacher, whoever those people are in your life who encouraged you, and or my physics teacher in high school, I shouldn't leave him out. Whoever those people are, think about that. And I can tell you, it really means a lot to hear from a newly admitted lawyer that you appreciate the impact that that person had on your life and that they were instrumental in helping you arrive at this day. So congratulations. To regroup, number one, the golden rule, be kind and considerate. Number two, give back. And number three, don't forget gratitude. And I always say this, we've become, as today illustrates, very much an electronic age. And I'm going to, as a boomer, tell you that as much as I like texting and email, if I'm going to hear the message that I'm urging you to share with those who've been influential in your life, I'd really like to have it delivered, if not person to person, phone call or a handwritten note. So let me encourage you. A text is better than nothing, but I really think that for something this monumental, it really does merit a phone call or a handwritten note. So I would encourage you to do that. Congratulations again. I'm sorry that we didn't have the opportunity to meet in person this morning. I hope that we will in the future. And you can see this lovely background, which is the Supreme Court courtroom at the Capitol. And I hope you'll take the opportunity when you're in Frankfurt to come by and see this beautiful courtroom. And I hope our paths will cross in person in the near future. So with that, I'll ask you, Madam Clerk, to adjourn court.
Justice Hughes, there's no further business for the court this morning, so we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all. And again,